Hello, my name is Sharon Hurst and I'm the author of How to Draw Unicorns. Today I thought that we might do something a little different. Christmas is on the way and wouldn't it be fun to draw and paint a picture that would have a Christmas theme? And I've got a picture for you of two unicorns underneath the mistletoe, and she's giving him a lovely mwah on the cheek and he's looking, oh. If you wanted to, you could take this particular picture and scan it, and I thought you might be able to turn it into a Christmas card perhaps, or a present for somebody that you loved, or for a grandchild or a niece or nephew or children. It's just a thought. We're going to use marker pens and I'll give you a list of materials along with this particular video so that you're all set and ready to go. And if you join me on the journey, hopefully we'll come up with something really rather lovely. See you in a minute. Here we are, let's get started, shall we? I wanted to show you this card. This is the card that I prefer over and above anything else. It's Express It blending card and it really does make a difference. It's more expensive than many of the others, but you need a piece of paper or a piece of card that is going to not absorb all the marker pen, that won't reject it, that doesn't bleed. So many different things that matter. They really do matter. And you find that you can't do the work and it's not your fault. It's the materials that we're using. This is without a doubt for me the best. We want to put that onto a separate piece of paper or card. I've just got some cardboard behind me here because when you're working with this kind of technique it will bleed through. There's no two ways about it, it bleeds and you've got to be prepared for it. You don't want it on your work surface. I've got a 2B pencil, fantastic for drawing, just a normal rubber. I want a ruler and I have a Sharpie pen, and this is one of the very fine Sharpie pens, the thin ones. Fine point. And for a reference, here's my picture, and you can find anything you want to on an app on your phone or your iPad called Pixabay. 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 And lots of royalty-free images. You just put in the thing that you want. So I put in 2 horses and Bob's your uncle. 17,000 I think I had to choose from. And these are the colours that I'm going to be using. I've just put little scraps of colour there so that I can see what colours I want, and if I need to go back to the picture at a later date, that's my recipe. There it is, my colours. Okay, glasses on, everything at the ready, and we're going to get stuck in. Now the first thing we want to do here is turn it into shapes, and I'm looking at this big kind of triangular shape here and the roundness of his muzzle, and I'm looking at, for her, I'm looking for that triangle there around her jaw and the top of her head. So let's start with that. We want to do the roundness that is the top of his head, like this. And then we're going to come in and put in the roundness of his muzzle. And then I want to just put this shape in here for her jaw, and this will be the top of her head. Once we have that in, we can start joining things up. From here, we have this line down the back of her neck, so I'm just going to take it from here, down, and off the page. It's gone. Let's have a look now. This is just a simple line across here. All I'm going to do is look to where it might be, and it's going to be somewhere here underneath that. Shall we leave it for a minute? It will be easier if we do this and we do this. Let's do that next. A picture is a jigsaw puzzle. you do the bit that you can do, and then that means now we have the reference point, I can do the next bit. It's underneath that. So I can come in here from there and bring it up to here. Bingo. There's this shape here. We'll pop that in. And where does that come from? It comes from just below my curvy line here. So just below it. So here-ish, over across to there. Boom. Good stuff. Now we can think about a few little bits and pieces. We need to... There's another reference point. Look, there's that triangle in there. This is her back. Let's do that next. So that will come from about here, and this will join up about there. Done. How about this here? This is from his muzzle, right where that curve is. So about there, I reckon, don't you? And I'll take that down, just pull it off the page. Does that mean now that we can look at this L shape here? Let's do that. And this kind of starts up here, somewhere here at the beginning of my circle. So I'm going to put it in about there. And that comes down, down, down. Now where does it come down to? Well, if we do that, it's just here by his muzzle. So down, down, down. Oops, I went off a bit there, didn't I? My word. Round here. So it comes down to about there, and then that's his back. Jolly good. Can we do her neck now, this line of her neck? And that is there on that curve, and it's probably about halfway round the curve. I'm going to put that just in there. Ears is. The ears is. We've done the noses. I think that this ear sits on that curve there. So if we go find it, it's about here, and it will come up and round like that. And then I think it's narrower here, isn't it? And then it widens out. So narrow, wide, up and round to a rounded point. Okay. And this ear, you don't see much of that. It's just popped in here, midway across here somewhere, and that is just a curve and a little flicky bit like that, and then down like that. Sorted. Can we do his ears, do you think? There's the curve of his head. So here we go, and I want to bring that up here, and that comes out, up and straight, and then it comes across a bit, rounded at the end, straight down, and then it bulges out, and then comes back into his head. Okay, and this one, around that top, you've probably got, it's here, isn't it? It's as you start to come back round. So I reckon about here, and it's up, 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 rounded. It's the same height. So rounded, and then it comes out a little bit, and then straight down to his head. Phew, not bad, not bad. Look, that's our starting point. That's got to be pretty good. The next thing we need to do is move on and start adding a little bit of detail. I want to look at the eye and think about where that is. So if we divide this area into thirds, 1, 2, 3, it's halfway across this line. Imagine that you're dividing that into thirds, 1, 2, 3. That means we're looking at this. It's a lovely shape, this, you know. Let me fold it so that you can see. It's a lovely shape. And I want to do this gorgeous teardrop. It's like a teardrop, almond shape. And then round, round there, and up. And all we need to do with that is give him an eyelid. So that will be there. And then there's a bit of a crease up here above that. So we'll just do that. So we have our first eye in there. At the moment we can't really see very much over here. I'm not terribly worried about that for the minute. We'll deal with that in a second. We'll move on and we'll do something else. We need to look at his nose and his nostrils. And they're this interesting shape here, this curvy S shape. In here then, let's just do this gorgeous shape in here, something like that. That will do. But you see, we don't see too much of this here. This is just a kind of ovally shape through there. Just that. That'll do. Interesting mouth though, because it's a W. Down, up, and then through there. It's definitely a W. And it comes from the edge of this area here. So down, there's your W, and then back up. And what I'm going to do here is give him a bit of a cheeky grin. So just put in that little C shape there, and it will make him look as though he's smiling. She's giving him a kiss after all, you know. You'd smile, wouldn't you? Well, I hope. Okie dokie. The next thing we're going to be looking at is her features here. There's the eye, and it's down from the ear, and it's around about here, and it's, if you look at the angle through the middle of the eye, it's like that. So just bring that across, mark where it would be, and so her eye is somewhere like this. I'm making them a little bit bigger because it means I can just make them a bit more interesting. You can put some colour in those eyes if you want to. Nostrils. There's that lovely kind of C shape again. There it is. We're going to put that in here. Now it looks strange for a minute because this is all foreshortened and it's a difficult angle, but we'll get there, it's fine. We're going to put in this C shape through there. There it is. There's her mouth, just through there, so just a little bit there. You're not seeing a lot of it, but what we can see and what will make it interesting, where this horse is having a sniff and a kiss at this horse, you can see the curve of her top lip. So let's just put that in for now. In there, this curve. And we'll make more of that later. We'll do some more with that later. Now the other thing I want to show you is how to place the horn, and we need to really think about this with a unicorn. It's easy with somebody like this because he has the star on his forehead. We call this a star, this lovely white mark. And that is right in the middle of his eyes. There it is. You can see that it's in the middle of his eyes. And if you do that C shape there, that is where the horn will sit on his forehead. If we look at this, his other eye is going to be here. Shall we put that in now so that we've got a reference point? It's going to be, there's my curve, there. So it's going to be down here, out there like that, and back in. So this is going to be his eye. And to make life easy for us, a little bit of, that will just be the bit of eye you can see, and he's going to have a little bit of eyelashes. So that means now we've got our reference point. So in the middle of his eyes, there it is, middle of his forehead, around about here somewhere, we're talking about a horn. And the best way to deal with this little job is to take a ruler. And you think about the angle it would be, and the easy way around that one, I bought myself a little, when I started this whole project, I bought myself this little horse. And it means that I can look at him and think about where his horn would sit on his forehead. So if this horse is looking partly at me like that, his horn would be facing out this way. So I've got to think about the same thing with him. So his horn would be facing out this way like my pencil. And to do that, the easy way, I want to use a ruler because I am gormless at straight lines when I'm drawing. I have to tell you. No good trying to be polite about it. I know I am. And that will give me his horn. With her eye, her other eye is here. So let's just think about that little lump there at the moment. So her nose is going to come along here, dip in, and then we have this lump here, which will be her eyebrow. This is her brow. And effectively, there's the white blaze up her forehead, and her horn will be somewhere here. And if you think about how her face is pointing, something like this, that's going to point out this way. So I'm looking at that, translate it over to your drawing. If we're going to have the horn but somewhere here, and it's pointing towards him, we're looking at something like that. I'll carry it on beyond there, I think, to make it look interesting. I'm going to do that up through there. I think I've actually made that a little bit long. I don't like it. So if you want to adjust something, let's have the ruler in, the rubber in there. And I just want to shorten that up a little bit. Just coming in there. I'm going to do that. I'll clear up that mess in a minute with a decent rubber. Okie dokie. We are almost there, everybody. So we can put our little horse aside, say thank you very much, been very useful. And the next thing we're going to do is start putting some detail in. I want to think about their ears. So her ears, we've got this line up through here, and that goes through there. So this is the outside of her ear, and this is the inside of her ear. Other way around, apologies. This is the inside of her ear and the outside. And then I want to think about his ears. I would like to put the line of his outer ear up through here. This ear, we're looking at it full on. Therefore, we can see the rim all the way around his little ears like this. So that's fine. Let's have a little fiddle now with these horns and make them look rounded and interesting. So that's our first C shape. Come in now and put another in. Come out of the edge, touch it, round and up like that. From out of the edge, round and up like that. Then we'll do again another one like that. And another, and then another. That's it. And we'll keep that nice pointy bit there. Hers is the same. There's the original shape. Now just copy it. One round there, and then another, and another. Keep going. And this will give you the kind of curly cues on the horn. They get a little bit smaller as you come up and through. And it just makes them look lovely and round and knobbly. So it just makes them interesting. Now you see where I talked about her mouth and this curve of her nose where it's sort of meeting him. What I'd like to do there is give her some lips. So a nice start here. And we're doing this M shape to give her these puckered lips to give him a kiss. And then that's the bottom lip there. And I just would like to think about this here. We've got a curve there. That's her other nostril. So come in there and just dip it like that. It'll make that look more realistic. That's what we want. Okie dokie. We've got this shape here, so that's lovely. We've sorted that out. But the poor things at the moment don't have any manes, do they? Let's start with her and think about that. I'm going to put a bit of hair there, and that's going back over the other side of her. And it's coming down, 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 and then from, say, about here, we're going to do that. So that piece of hair flops down here. and it comes from her head here, round. I want to put some here, and we're going to bring that out and curve it like that, and then that comes back up, up, up like this and up through there. And how about another strand of mane down here to there, one like that. Sorted. Okay. Next thing to do with him, I want to put the top of his hair in here, just curl a little bit like that. I want to start from here, and we're going to have a lovely bit of hair here, and that's coming back up to the horn. And then we'll do a lovely bit down here, down his forehead like this. That'll do. That's this piece coming down and round. And then how about something down his shoulder? We'll have a nice chunk of hair here, shall we? I'm going to come through here, a little bit there, one, and a kinky bit there, and then a bit through there. And then we can do that. And then pick up from here, bring it round his eye, down the side of his face, and then down here, and then kick it out again. Now the only bit that's missing is the mistletoe, so we're going to do that quite easily. I want to put in a V shape, V like that. Alright, just a V shape. And come along the outer edges of it, and do that, and do that. And mistletoe has little kind of buds on the end of the branches like that. And if we then come in and they have spadey sort of rounded shaped leaves like that, and then two, there's always two together like that. We need another one in here, so this one will give it that kind of shape. And then we'll pull this out a bit and make that interesting down here. We need some berries, white berries, like that. One here, and then we'll put some extras in here. So we have our mistletoe. And the only thing that remains to be done now is to block it in and to draw it in with a pen. And we need to do that carefully so that we've got good lines for our drawing and for colouring. Ignore the things that you don't want. Just do the things that you need. Therefore, if I start perhaps with the hair, I want to come down, oopsie little, make sure my pen's working, come down, round. You don't have to slavishly follow your lines, so if you come off them a little bit, it's not the end of the world. But if I get the hair in, I think the rest will make sense. So I'm just going to do that first. That's it. See, do your best. Don't have to follow it exactly. That means I only need that bit of his back. I only need these lines for the ears. Like that. I don't want to come right down through the mane. Don't need to. Let's put the eye in like this. And I want to put this shape in here. Down, down, down. There's the eye, a few eyelashes. Just going to put a little bit of black in there and to use this pen. And come down the nostrils and the nose. That's the mouth and the smile. Down here. And around the bottom of the mouth. And we do need a little bit of a line there because that's his jawline. That's his jaw, that's important. And then we'll pop the nostril in there and we'll do that. And Whilst we've got the pen in our hand, what we'll do is we'll just colour in this eye too. But it would be nice to have a highlight in there, so I'm just going to do that. And we're not going to colour that in. So let's just come through here. Just want to do his eyes black. And they're good and dramatic then, and they'll be looking at you as you walk around the room and you're drawing him. There we are. So that'll do us. Okay, goody goody. Nice. How about this horn now? So one, it's all you're going to do, just the U shapes, C's. Like this. There we are. And then we can come across to her. Let us just do that outer edge there. And I think if we do her horn next, why not? That. Through there. Like this. Up and through. Goody stuff, good stuff. And then that makes sense now to do this lock of hair, doesn't it? Through there, up and round, and through there. Ear. Let's do this hair here. Because if we do that, we don't have to worry now about an awful lot of ears and the side of her face. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'm going to pull this back up here through to here. That goes down here. Then you have the line of her back. I want to put her ears in. The hair doesn't make sense, so let's just bring the hair around there. The ear will come up here, like that. And the good thing about these pens, of course, the Sharpie pens, is the fact that they will not bleed too much when you put another colour on them and over the top of them. So they're quite good from that point of view. That lip's a bit big, I'm going to go a little smaller. There we are. And this lovely curve of the bottom of her jaw, like that. That's her back. And then we have a bit of neck there. And this is going to be hair. And here we have his front, his neck. If we just finish off with our mistletoe, like this. A few leaves, like so. And there's the berries again. And just finish off these leaves here. And all that remains for me to do is fill this eye in. Once again, I'm going to leave an interesting shape there for a highlight. Just want to pop that dark in there, like that. All that I have to do now is just come away and rub it all out. So I'll go and do that, and I'll be back with you in just a moment. Here we are, ready to go again. I've rubbed out my pencil lines and I'm ready to start painting. And I'm going to use these Style File markers. Very good markers. Anything will do though, whatever you want to use. These have got a lovely sort of wedge-shaped tip, and then you have a smaller fine bullet tip on the other end. And I intend to use 3 shades of grey. When you're working like this and you like a bit of shadow, the best thing to do is to use the same range of colours. So here I've got warm grey, WG2, warm grey 4 and warm grey 6. So they're the same shade, but they are different tonal values, and those 3 I intend to use here. Now, just like proper professional artists, we're going to keep these in our hands, and I'll show you why. You need quick access. I've got all the chisel tips uppermost, and I know that by the dots here that you can see, the big dots on the pen, because the first thing we're going to do is start with the palest colour, and this is the warm grey 2. And I want to come in here and I'm going to lay this in, and then we'll blend it, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. We want to think about everywhere where there is shadow. So here on our horse, he's going to be the grey horse. I'm going to put colour and shadow under his mane. There will be colour here around his jaw. This hair here will cast shadow along here. Because this is all underneath, the light's coming from above, I would put shadow along this area here. Don't worry about pen marks at the moment, they will go away. Just be patient. And I want to bring that down and around his mouth here, because this will be shaded. Don't overwork your black lines, because that might make the colour run. So don't overdo that. Up here, I'll show you why in a minute. When I start to blend, it will become clear. And I want to put shadow in between those 2 locks of hair there. And this will all cast, his horn will cast a shadow here, and down this lock of hair here, a little bit down there like that. And then strange things happen round horses' nostrils. You've got a bit of shading here, and you would have shadow in that curve around there. Not up to it, but just away from it. So the same applies here. You would have shading like that. What do we do for the rest of him? Well, I want to put grey in on his ears here, because their ears are usually darker, interestingly enough. And I want to put some colour up through here. If you're not feeling confident about this, you turn the pen over and you do it with the finer point. That's fine. I want to put a little crease there around his eye, and I'm going to come down his neck through this area here, because his face and his head will be shading all of this here. So come down, run the colour down through here, and then I want some down here. I think I'm going to need a new pen soon. This should be juicier than this, and I think that I've probably worn it out. I like my pens, and I've used them quite a bit with the unicorns that I've been painting. So up through here, and then bring that down and around like that. And that's our starting point. So we're going to put that back in our hand like that, and we have it to use in a minute. And this is the clear blender pen. There is no colour in this at all. This is purely and simply for blending. And we're going to come in here and we're going to scrub. Just scrub at the edges. Keep going. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, there's not much going on there. But no, trust it, trust it. Just be patient, because the colour changes initially, and you will find that this will blend and fade out. One thing I would say to you is do it now. Don't leave it. Don't go away and do something else. Do it now whilst the ink is still wet on the paper, because it makes for a much, much easier blend. It really does. So it's worth doing it straight away. Otherwise you have to kind of reactivate it all, and it takes more time and effort, and more fluid indeed. This is just clear spirit in this pen, and so it reactivates the ink. And this is the reason why you don't want to go too close. Don't go too close to your black lines, because you can actually reactivate that as well, and you'll find that you might get a little bit of bleeding over the lines. If I bring you in tight to that, you'll be able to see what I mean on the mane right here where it's run over a little bit. Can you see that clearly? I've just been a bit careless and put too much of this on there, and as a consequence it's just flooded over the black line. It's not the end of the world because we're going to colour the mane in anyway, so I can't say that I'm terribly concerned about that. But you know, if you were and you wanted to be careful, it's just a point to make. I'm coming in here because I just want to soften this, and then we'll be done with our first colour. Just work it, scrub at it and soften it. And as it dries, you'll see that you get a fairly nice blend. That, we just put that away again for a minute. And it's interesting because however this works, whatever this system does, these pens don't become corrupted with colour. They stay nice and clean, so that's wonderful. I'm happy with that. So we've used our number 2. I'm now going to go to the number 4. And this time I want to work into the same areas, but not as wide as I started with. So we're going darker, darker again, but you see I'm not doing all of it. I'm just coming in and doing bits and pieces. I want some up his ears here. I'm being careful, I'm still doing it with the large brush, and that's just me. I'm doing it that way because I want to speed myself up and not take too much of your time. The inner ear, I want the whole ear to be dark. Therefore, if I come in and I just lay that bit of colour in there, that means that they will be dark for me. Because they're shaded, aren't they? They're in the shadow, they're inside. I'd like some shadow in there. Up through that area there, and I want some down here in this nook and cranny down here under his chin, like that. I don't think we need too much more really. That should do us for now. I might just, you know, just do that. So you see, this was the original big Y shape. Now I'm just going to do that, and I'm just going to put that in there like that, and we'll blend it. And we don't blend it with the clear one. We go back now to the number 2. So you go to the number you used before. And then I blend with that, like this. So we do that. And that softens that. And some around there. You see now how you're getting a nice blend. And it looks a bit scruffy to start with now. But allow it to dry and you'll see that you get a really nice colour blend. I'm just coming into that, staying within the same lines. Now it's interesting because that was a smaller area and it's hard not to go over the lines. What I will do with that is go back to the clear, and I'm going to soften all those edges there as well. Go do it again. Just like that. There you go. Just soften it, soften it. I want to soften that a bit more because that was a bit rough and ready, wasn't it? And we need to go back to the number 2 because we're coming in here and we're just softening up his ears, those shadings on the ears there. So that's the second layer of colour. What we want to do now is go even deeper in some of those areas, and to do that, here's the number 6, warm grey number 6, and I'm going to use the finer point this time because I'd like a little bit of control here. Coming into the ear, and this is the very dark grey. Not quite black, but it's not too far off it. And a little bit there. And I want to come up into the ears, still leaving the highlight in the ears though. I want to make them all just dark, dark, dark. Up round there. And then I want to come down, I'm going to put a little bit in here, in that area, and a teeny tiny bit in there. Because that's going to be shaded by the hair and the horn, all of it. And I would like to see some up here under that dark shadow of the neck. And the same applies. I go back to the number I used before. So if that's 6, I go now to number 4. And I can either do it with the fine point in the ears like that. And if we're worried that we might get lines and marks, just go over the whole area like that. But you're softening up those edges. And this is the same with marker pens right across the board. This is the best way to use them. Just gently, gently work them like that. By going back and forwards, back and forwards. There. And because that's a large area here, and I don't want any marks, I'm going to bring that colour down. And then I'm going to come back in with the clear and just soften that edge again. Like that. And that's him and his coat sorted. We're now going to go and move on to painting her. I would like her to be a little bit softer, a little more feminine, so I am planning on painting her in a lovely beigey colour, nice warm colours. And again, I've chosen 3 colours in the same range, and I have salmon pink, rose beige and potato brown. And they're very close together. They're enough that give me a different differentiation in shading, but not too much. And the first colour we start with always is the lighter colour, and I'm coming in and I want to paint all of her, the whole horse, in this soft, soft colour. Skip gently over the black lines. I've found when I've been working that the pen least likely to smudge is the Sharpie. So I like to stick with that because I know I can trust it. You obviously will find others too, and that's cool, but I just want to stick with that because I know I'm safe with it, fairly safe with it. Up there around the hair, we're going to go into her ears. Not too much, because I want those ears darker. As I said with the chappie here, the ears tend to be darker. But let's paint her ears the pale colour first, and then we'll go in with the dark and we'll see if it makes a difference. We'll experiment, you and I. And then up through here, this is her back. And we'll pop that down there, staying away from the hair. Don't want to affect that at the moment. And then down her neck, like this. Trying to be careful around the hair. You get used to working with the wedge actually, and knowing where the edges of it are. It's at first you tend to go over the lines a bit, but the more you work it, the easier it is. And I mean, some brushes, they actually make them with a, sorry, I'm muddled up. Some pens, they make them with a brush tip. And I mean, they're good too, aren't they? Lovely and soft to work with. Here we go. I'm now moving on to the next colour, a shade darker. I'm going down a shade. So let me put that over her ears to start with. And that goes over nicely and smoothly, you see. I think I'm going to leave just a frisson there of highlight, why not? And then I want to come in around this area here, shadow, and down around here. I'm going to pull this right across, because this is quite a large area. It's you're seeing quite a bit of her jaw, but the highlight, the light is coming from above. So I don't want to get carried away and make her too light down here. There you go, round there. And then, same as we did before, we want to pop that round the nostril like that. Next time you see a horse, have a look and you'll see that strange curve, and I want to darken that too because that is also in shadow. Now what about her back? Oh, there's quite a bit of this here in her neck. So back into this area, down here, and you can see how much more easily the colour is going on here, so it just goes to prove that my poor old grey pen's nearly dead. I'll have to get another one of those. And then down around here. And although you're going over work that you've done, you're doing this because the ink has already prepared the paper underneath, and this will go on beautifully smoothly for you. And bring some up here along that edge of the hair. There you go. And now we go back to the first pen, the lighter pen, and this is where you start to scrub and rub. Blend it all in. Just go along all your lines and work over them like this. And you will find that in your pens, your sets of pens, that some of them definitely blend better than others. And that's down to the pigments that are in them, and that's fine. But you do get used to that, and you get to know what works best for you. And that helps you in your choices later on with what colours you want to use and where you're using them. Now that's quite a large area, and I fear that I might get a line there where I've drawn that. So what I'm going to do is just bring the colour right down. So if you're in any doubt that you're worried about what effectively would look like a watermark or a mark, just gently paint over the whole area again with the paler colour, and that will stop that, completely stop it. So same there. There you are. And I just want to blend in that highlight there. That's it. Now whilst that's still damp, we're just going to go in quickly with the darker colour and just put a few extra darks in here too. So I'd like some along there. I'm going to pop it round there again. I'd like a little bit under her mane there on her forehead. And down here, this is dark because this is where she's leaning against him and touching him. And it's away from the light too, so that's going to be quite a dark little area down around her jaw there. And the same applies here in her neck. So just like him, dark area there under her jaw, and I want to just bring that down here and a slither down that piece of hair there. I want some up here, like that. And just here where this whole, this will be her back coming round to her tummy, and to make sure that it curves her tummy away and underneath, we put some shadow there too. And then we quickly go back to the middle coloured pen, and I want to blend with that. So we come in and we soften again. So it's quite repetitive, you're going back over yourself again and again, but it doesn't matter. The whole point is that you want this lovely blend, and this is the way to do it. So down here, run that into there. And what I do now, I'm done with the layering of these colours, and what I will do now is I will leave it, let it dry, and then you can see how it all blends beautifully into each other. So we'll let that dry and then come back and we'll have another. Whilst that dries, let's go up here and have a think about our mistletoe. And 2 greens for that. I'm going to start with 2 greens, and the first thing I want to do is block in, just wondering if I can do it with a thick fat end or I need to be a little more refined. Let's see how we do. So pale green to start with, and then we'll put some lines on it, because mistletoe leaves have got the most incredible lines right down the middle of the leaves. Straight out, top to bottom. there. This one's out in the light, but that one that's behind there, I'm going to just make that a bit darker. So here's the darker colour, and I'm using the finer point to come in and to just pop that in like that. And then this darker colour, I want to make that end of these leaves just a little bit darker, where they're coming away from the stem. And again, you can blend that gently with our lighter green, like that. And I think I'd like to bring you in for a little bit of the detail on this, so just hold tight, you're coming in a little bit. Bit more maybe. All right, you're not feeling dizzy. If I take the darker colour, I'm just going to run it through the leaves. Follow the curve of the outer edge of the leaf so that you get that nice shape. So this will go up, down and round like that. And look how that gives you that beautiful kind of curve to that lovely kind of kink. I notice when I'm looking at this particular plant that the stem is a greeny yellow, and what I want to do with that then is take my pale green and I'm going to run that through first like that. So just a pale green, and then I want to take the yellow, a pale yellow, and I would like to just run that right over the top. So you can mix and blend your colours that way too, because the green is, as long as I don't fluffy brush it and fiddle with it, is going to stay where it is. And I notice again that the little buds on these tend to be this more golden colour, so that's cool. We've got that off pat. Next thing to think about is, whilst we're up here with this, these little berries are just white, but we don't want to leave it very, very white like that. I'm going to take a coolish grey, and all I want to do, you know we said the light was coming in from this way, in the direction of this. On the dark side, I just want to lay in a little bit of shadow. Just like that. Just like that. There you go. And then that gives us the impression that they are actually curved and they're rounded. So that's good too. That will do. Happy with that. Alright, let's come back down to our horses now and we'll deal with the eyes. Can I do that by doing this? Yes, I can. I want to take my Sharpie pen, and this time I'm thinking about where there might be highlights in the eyes. So in her eyes we've got this shape here, and in his we've got that light in the top. Therefore, if I come into his eye and I give myself this shape, oh, what's happened? Wake up! Through there, let's just put in the highlight like that and see how that looks when we just put neat black in the eye. Just going to do that. Fill it in, block it in nice and neatly, like that. Okie dokie. That will do us, won't it? Good stuff. Now there's just a hint, if you look here, just a hint of an eye. Just a hint. So I'm going to just come in there and just do that. And then that gives me the other eye. That's cool. With her, we've got this really rather interesting shape like that for a highlight. I'm going to come in and try to work my way around that so that that stays nice and clean. And I find for myself it's easier to draw the highlight shape first, because then I behave myself and I don't get carried away and I don't go drawing over it and making a mess of it. I know me. So know yourself and what you're capable of doing or not. With her nostrils and with his nostrils, we need to be thinking here as well about making those quite dark. That pen's quite a fiddle for that job, therefore I do have a black in my set, and I want to come in here and I'm going to really block that in. So there we go, we're going to put that nostril in like that, and this one over here like this, and we're going to do the same with her. So I've got darkness all round and through here, and then I want to kind of fade it out. So we've got choices with that. We've got choices. I can go down to one of the greys that I used on the horses here, and I want it to be quite dark, so this is the number 4, and just soften that edge like that, because then hopefully I can take my clear and I can just soften that right out like that, so that it blends. And over here, and these are really good, these clear markers, because they don't tend to get messy on the tips. It stays clean. I have no idea how that works, but it does work, and it's fabulous for you and I in that instance. The insides of her ears, while we're here, we've got one ear to deal with here. It's still quite brown, her ear, so therefore take your darker brown, and I want to come in there and block that in, for starters. So just block colour in, and I'm going to go down another brown shade. So that is a 210. So what happens if I go completely balmy and I take a very dark brown like this? So this is a bronze, and I want to run that in there, and then go back to the brown, the paler brown, and blend over that. And that should give me the darkness in her ear. Now if you do have a little bit of a mishap and you go over the edge, you'll find that if you come in with the clear paint, I'm throwing them all on the floor now. If you come in with the clear and you just nudge and budge it, the clear will tidy up your edges. So this will actually push it away, and you can clear up with that. So that's just a little point worth noting. But I've overdone that, and it's what's happened here. Let me just show you that. I'm bringing you in a little bit more. What's happened here is I've overdone that too fast, and consequently the ink that's in this area has flooded over the black because it was too wet. I should have waited, and I should have left it alone, and if it dried a little more, the paper would have been able to absorb it and it wouldn't have flooded over. So it's just worth remembering that these black lines are a bit like Dan's, and if you overcook it and you overdo it, you'll find that the ink floods over. But these are all things that we learn, and it's just trial and error, isn't it, really? I want to now do the hair, and this time it's important to me to land up with marks in my pen work, because I want them to be there. I want to be able to see it. And I thought with her that we would have something quite exciting and interesting. How's about, what should we do? Should we make her golden haired? Could be quite exciting, couldn't it? So I'm using a pale yellow to start with. This is the fun of it, isn't it, really? Is designing your own creature or your own person. And art is just wonderful for that. You never really know what you're going to land up with. We have hopes as to what we land up with, but sometimes it's completely different, and you know what, it can be real fun. I think it is. There you go. Now, I also know that I want the two horns to be golden. So whilst I've got this colour in my hand, I want to come through and I'm going to paint hers and his matching horns. I'm going to do those lovely gold colour so that you can imagine in the dark they'd shine. There we are. It's the same for him. Just being a little bit circumspect with my black lines and trying not to scrub too much. Don't hold the pen on there too long, otherwise it'll flood like it did just now. There we are. I want it to sink through, not flood over, so that's the key point really. And this lovely orange, love this colour. And with this, I'm going to come in here and I want to pull up the shadows in the hair. So down round there, and I'm going to put some in there. And where her hair curves down and behind her face, we'd have some shadow there. Oh, I've forgotten this chunk of hair here. There you go. Down and round. So I want darker colour in here. And the next thing we're going to do is use the golden, pale gold, to just soften some of those edges. And again, I'm not too worried about softening too much because I want the marks there. I want them to look like hair. I want it to give me the texture in the hair. Because the next thing I want to do now is come in with the thin end of this lovely orange. And I'm going to pull it through and round like this. So follow the shape, follow the curve. Down and round. That's it. And if you find that that's too harsh for you, go back to the wide blade on this. And again, I'm not worried about going over the edges because in a minute we're going to do that deliberately. And you can soften all of those lines. Just soften it. Doesn't get rid of them completely, but it stops them from being quite so hard and harsh. That's those two colours there. Now I just want one third colour to really put some darks in there, and we'll go back to this dark brown that we used for her ears, and I'm going to come through, and this time curl it. Use my shapes as a starting point, but you now do your own thing. You can curve a little bit over her forehead like that. Bring some across here. You see how that softens that and makes it so much more appealing. And if you want to soften it, go back to the pale colour and just come back in with the wide edge. Pull a bit of yellow across there so that you get this yellow haze. Pull some yellow out. There we go. There we are. I've painted his mane in exactly the same way as hers, but this time I've used a blue, a pale blue, and two greys, but I've followed exactly the same pattern to produce his mane. And really all that remains now is to come in and to give this lady, this young lady, some lipstick. So we're just going to do that with a pink, and then coming in with a darker pink just to give a hint of shadow here in the corners of her mouth, and a bit there of course where it's shaded by his face. And the reason I've done that is purely and simply to really draw your eye to the fact that she's giving him a kiss, and those bright pink lips will make you look at it and you'll see it. Finally, all we need to do now is lay in some shadow underneath each and every one of the rungs or the coils on their horns. So it's simply going to come in and introduce those little shadows, that one particularly, because this one is underneath this one. So here, and then down through here, and there, you see. I'm going a little bit wider down the bottom edge because that would be again in shadow. So we're just going to put that down and around like that, and then that gives the definite impression that you've got one on top of the other. Shadow around there. We could put some shadow down this edge here too, like that. And then using the paler gold, we simply go in just again to smudge those edges to soften them up. That's all I'm doing, just to make it softer. Now if you're doing this at home, take a bit more time over it so that you're making yours a bit smarter and neater than mine. You might need to work backwards and forwards with the different colours to get better blends, but I'm hoping that just having done this is giving you enough of an idea so that you can go away and experiment for yourself. That's my job, is just to help you to come to grips with the techniques so that you can make them your own special thing and make it your technique and your style. Because you'll all paint the same thing and you'll all do it differently, and that's the joy of it. I've finished with my pens, but I thought to myself that because it's Christmas, I've got this Stickles. It's glue with glitter, and I'm just going to pull this across here because it's Christmas, and just put some little highlights up through there. Bring you in so that you can see that a little better. It's pretty. It's pretty. And that will dry, the glue that's in there will dry clear, and it will give you this lovely sort of just glitter effect. And of course you could do that all over your unicorn if you so desired. That's up to you. But for now, here we have our unicorns for Christmas. And if you wanted to, of course, you could scan your picture and you could write Merry Christmas through here with your pens, and Bob's your uncle. You've got a Christmas card that you can send the Rellos for Christmas. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Something a little bit different and something amusing. I do like a bit of a giggle with what I'm doing. And hope to see you next time. Thank you for joining me today. Bye for now.